He's voting for the candidate who cares most about inflation. Tire inflation. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the church. Get it on. The Last Style Bender is in studio, and the new film, Style Bender, is available as we speak on Apple TV and on demand right now. Good to see you, Israel.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
I'm a big fan of yours.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You made me $10,000 in 2019 because I bet on you.
Okay, which fight do I remember?
Yeah, that was with Whitaker. No, yeah, Whitaker.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and you know, the odds for that fight were even.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, he's so much slicker than that guy. I realized in combat sports, for me, it was mostly boxing, but some guys were punchers, but some guys were slick. And the slick guys rarely lost to the punchers.
Yeah.
Because they had an athleticism.
Yeah, I mean, that's the game. Even with boxing or fighting is hit, don't get hit. And I've done that a lot through my career with over 100 fights across 3 different disciplines, which is boxing, MMA, and kickboxing. So I can still form sentences. I feel got my wits about me.
Yes.
So, yeah. I've only been knocked out once, but I returned the favor.
Yeah,
I got it back after that.
Yeah, that was in kickboxing.
Kickboxing with Pereira years ago when second time fighting him in Brazil, in his native Brazil, and yeah, he knocked me out. That was the only time I've ever been like flatlined and waking up and losing memory. But again, when I returned the favor, I feel like I gained my brain cells back from that one. So that's how it works. You just get it back when you knock them back out. Yeah.
You guys both fought. Did you fight middleweight?
Middleweight.
Yeah. So I mean,
first of all, I just want to say, like, biggest surprise today because I came in, I was like, wait, hang on, I felt like I was like, hold up, Jason, and
grew a little facial hair and got on the Adam Carolla show. Yeah.
I mean, you guys are big middleweights for walking around. I mean, you've got to be 6'3", 6'3" and a half.
Yeah, 6'4", 6'3" and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, and you must walk around at 215, 220.
At the moment, I haven't checked. In kgs right now, I'm going to estimate, say 95, 96 kgs. So that'd be around 210.
210.
Something, yeah.
I mean, both of you are big guys who walk around higher than 170.
Oh, you mean me and Pereira?
No, you and Mayhem.
And Mayhem. Oh, yeah, Bam.
Right. So, I mean, you guys got to cut.
Yeah.
Is that the worst part?
Nah, cutting for me is easy. I just kind of, now as a 35-year-old, this is my last camp was the first one. I actually had a nutritionist who's actually out there, Matt, taking photos. He's my chef.
Great.
He's my chef now, so he makes me whole foods. And before this, I was just the guy who Uber Eats for every meal, whatever I wanted.
Really?
Yeah, so I got up to this point just eating shit food. And now I realize, okay, I'm 35. My body doesn't metabolize certain things the way it used to. So I'm trying to put the right fuels in my body to, I guess, elongate my career a little bit, squeeze as much out of this body as I can before I call it a day. And that way I can be like, right, I did everything I could to optimize myself. So, yeah. I'm feeling great, feeling better now.
Do you want a rematch with Du Plessis?
Yeah, of course. That'll come later on. But, right now, after I just fought him, I don't think it's going to be immediately. I'd rather just fight, not really for the belt, just fight for fighting's sake. And just.
What's the path now? There's so many, like, 185
options.
is arguably, like, the most stacked category right now, in my opinion. So what do you see, like, who would you like to fight? I mean, there's a lot of fights out there for you.
I mean, even though I don't have the belt, they still got my name in their mouth.
I know.
I'm still Israel Adesanya. But for me, again, I'll let them call me out or whatever. At the moment, I want to fight one more time before the end of this year or early next year. But I don't know yet. I'm just training, building off what we left off, and I'll get the call at some point with a few options. I'm sure Dana will hit me up at some point.
I mean, what, Strickland's out there?
Yeah, but he's going to fight Du Plessis first. I think he's next. So even see how that plays out. See how the Rob comes up fight plays out. And there's some other, young guys on the come up. So, yeah, we'll see. But
how do you see that fight playing out?
They've already fought before. I fought both of them. I think Du Plessis might get it done again. He's just so weird. The way he fights is awkward.
Relentless, kind of durable. Like,
he's stubborn. He's stubborn. Like,
Yeah.
no matter how tired he gets, he'll still just throw just to stop you in your tracks or stop you from doing what you're doing. And he'll throw in hope, and it wouldn't really land, but it'll stop what you're trying to progress, you know?
Yeah, well, look, you have definite ability, God-given, almost like some guys can dance and you can dance. But I mean, I can't dance, but it's not my fault.
I'm sure you can.
Well, I just mean, there were guys like, Sugar Ray, not before Sugar Ray Leonard, but Sugar Ray Robinson, who was an amazing dancer. You know what I mean? And when you saw his footwork, you'd go, oh, yeah, now he brings that into the ring. Roberto Duran didn't move that way. He was there. But Du Plessis got a crazy will. It seems like his will is so strong that he can even overcome guys who have more physical gifts than he has because of his crazy will.
For like 9/10 of the fight,
Right,
it's like it's a very straight, and then.
Well, that's the fight game, though. That's the thing. You could be winning a fight till you're not. It just takes a simple moment, a simple mistake that you make, and it's just like, they capitalize. But that's how fighting works. And again, like what I said, because you said will, and I agree, stubborn. He's just stubborn. No matter how tired he gets, he's just like, I'm going to go. And you have to commend on for that.
Yeah, is it? I find it, as a guy who used to box a little bit, I found it demoralizing when I realized the other guy would just never, like, even if it was a competition to see who could hold their head under the water in the swimming pool for the longest. But if you had that guy who would just die before he pulled his head out of the water, I found it discouraging sometimes.
It's been done to me before in training and fighting, but also I've done it to other people as well, where I realize I've got their number, and then they just know I'm not going to quit. I'm going to be here regardless. Like, I've been hit before, and I keep walking forward, and they're like, oh, shit, this guy's not going anywhere. And I've had it done to people where I hit them with my best shot. I'm like, why are you still here? Like,
right.
Go. And then you just have to have the mental fortitude to know that, I'm not going anywhere either. Just because you're not going anywhere doesn't mean I'm going to quit. But some people, they just, when you take their best shot, you can just see it's like, oh, fuck. And then they wilt.
Can you see it at the weigh-in? Sometimes
different places,
when someone
weigh-ins.
may be broken a little bit or not feeling as confident as they should.
Yep, definitely. Weigh-ins, even just walking past in the hallway, certain things like that. You just, the vibe. You just get the energy. You're like, is this guy for real, or is this guy about that life, or is he just for the cameras? Because there's sometimes some guys, I won't say names, but it's like when the cameras aren't there, completely different. But when the cameras are on and they see like there's fans or something, then they want to flex or whatever. So, yeah, who's about it and who's not about it. But it's all about when you step in the octagon, it'll really show who is really about this life. Yeah.
Did you ever, you and John Jones are probably the two guys that are sort of the Floyd Money Mayweather of MMA, in that slick movement, technique.
There's a few of us, but yeah, I know.
But it more than a tough guy, and also the sport has evolved. So Tank Abbott, who used to be the poster child for this, was tough dude. But then at some point it turns into a sport.
Cerebral. It becomes a thing with game planning, understanding patterns of the other guy, understanding the way the other coaches think. So even me now, I do breakdowns on my YouTube. I wouldn't say I dumb it down, but I make pretty obvious observations that anyone can see who really knows the game. But I don't try and go too deep and break down certain things because I don't want people to see what I'm seeing, what my coaches are seeing. So yeah, the game has evolved since the days of Tank Abbott and Hoist Gracie. Now we're here to the point that we've got different, UFC performance institutes all over the world, high-level training. Now people are going into the nuances of the game to really maximize. Like even me now, like I said, eating whole foods. And I saw the difference. I saw the benefit to my body. I'm like, oh, wow, this does help. Eating a good, healthy diet does help you as an athlete. Who would have thought?
Yeah, so you're going to get guys now where it was sort of like our best athletes would go into the NBA or into the football or what have you, and we weren't any good at soccer because our best athletes weren't going into that. They would go get paid in the NBA or what have you. But now when a sport evolves, now you're going to have the best athletes going into that sport. And like I said, it's become a sport, not a tough man competition, which is really not even about being a badass or a tough guy anymore. It's its own sport, you know?
Yeah.
And it's going to evolve. I mean, it has. You look at women's MMA. It was kind of embarrassing 15 years ago watching them punch and throw. You know, they fought like girls fight.
They had 3-minute rounds as well.
Yeah, now you see a lot of technique. Like they evolved that into the sport it is today.
And again, I think because of what's happened with MMA in general, there's a blueprint. So the women's MMA has skyrocketed and also grown so fast because we've already done it.
Right.
There's the blueprint. So you see some of the greatest fights now are women fights. You know, some of the greatest finishes are from the female fights, and how far they've come from when Dana White was like, you will never see women fight in the UFC. And now they, you know, sometimes run the show. It's crazy.
Did you can watch guys fight and go, okay, I see what that guy's weaknesses are, and I see how I would exploit that weakness. You ever watch guys fight and go, wow, I don't know what I'd do with that guy?
Nah, not really. There's always something, but again, that's the game. Because sometimes even when people watch me fight, they're like, even coming up, he's got weaknesses in his games. He's got no takedown defense. He's got this. I'm like, cool, come find out. Because then when they get in there, then they realize it's not just holes in my game. It's actually a trap. You know? And then before they realize it, it's too late. So yeah, when I watch people, even when I watch myself back, I look at my fights and I think, if I was fighting me on this night, how would I beat me? And I try and see where I messed up or what I did wrong. Even if I won the fight, I still try and figure it out. If I was fighting me, how would I try and beat me? And I reverse engineer that into my game in a way. So, yeah, everyone can be beat, but not everyone will be beat.
Tell me about like developing your striking style, because you're really bringing in, you know, shades of Anderson, sort of like a different, you know, phase in the martial arts. Yeah, you know, you call yourself the last style bender. Great name, because you do things that are now, I don't know, everyone's studying it because it's something new. Like, tell me about that. Like, was it a pad man that you said, hey, let me try to do this spinning elbow? Let me, you know, tell me about how you developed that over the years.
So what I liked about my coach, Eugene Behrman, is when I first started training with him, he never tried to make me fight like him or anyone. He just saw what I did and worked with it. So he saw that I had good eyes, I was fast, and good dexterity, I guess, ambidextrous. I could go southpaw and orthodox. So he worked with that. But we have a system. I feel like my gym, City Kickboxing, kind of helped bring or really emphasize feints back in the game, because for a long time, that wasn't really something that people focused on. In boxing, you have different looks, different feints. Kickboxing, but in MMA, at a certain point, there wasn't really till, I guess, I came along and showcased how you can really mess people up with feints. And then people started to try and copy what we did, but then they were doing it without understanding the principles. But now, again, I've had so many fights in the UFC. People have watched a lot of tapes, so they can understand it. And also those who already knew from back in the day, they're like, oh, bringing this back, that's cool. But yeah, Eugene really helped just by getting the right people from his gym back in the day. Like, so he trained with guys like Ray Sefo, Doug Viney. He's one of the other owners of our gym. Mark Hunt was part of the Balmoral group for a while. Lolo was a guy that trained Ray Sefo, Mark Hunt as well. And that whole lineage.
Mark Hunt, heavyweight.
Yeah, Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
Legend, heavyweight legend. He's even fighting, I think, bare knuckle soon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
of course he is.
He's fighting bare
that
knuckle soon.
coconut. Oh, my goodness. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Was he drinking out of the shoe? Or is
No,
that
no,
somebody
that's
else?
Bam Bam. That's Bam Bam.
Bam Bam.
So Bam Bam is an Australian boy, but he's also one of Mark's sparring partners from back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Crap.
I've seen a couple of clips. They definitely go.
This is all in New Zealand, right?
Yeah,
Like,
so Mark and Bam Bam live in Australia now, but New Zealand is just not far away. So we kind of all, I call it Anzac United, because if we're not fighting each other, it's us against the world. But, you know, locally, you still have to get the rounds in with some of the guys. Because some of my teammates I fought before, And it's because New Zealand's such a small country, and sometimes you just get people crossing over.
Is
and fighting.
Volkanovski out there with you?
He's in Sydney, but he's still one of our teammates in the sense that we've united gyms. He's from Freestyle MMA with Uncle Joe Lopez. That's his trainer. But then we've made, I guess, a brotherhood as a team. So yeah, whenever one of us fights, it feels like we all go into it. At the
Iron
same
sharpen
time.
iron.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see.
When do you think Strickland's going to fight Du Plessis? Do they have that on the calendar anywhere?
Probably next year. So that's why I don't like to wait around. I'm not a guy. This is the longest break I've ever had in my fighting career.
Well, you
ever.
fought 5 or 6 weeks ago, though, right?
Yeah, but that was me after 11 months of no fighting at all. And before that, in 16 months as a champion, I fought 5 times. So that was one of the most active runs in the UFC as a champion. So
that's why I'm real confused that Dana's not glazing you up as a GOAT. Because for me, as I'm watching, I'm seeing you lose, come back, and dominate quickly. And there's a weird thing there. You're not getting the marketing. Maybe it's because you're not American. I don't get it. Really.
I do promote myself and stuff, but also because I'm not done. The story's still being written. And Dana, he does hype me up when it's time to hype me up. But again, because I lost my last fight, I know how the game works. Not Dana in general. I just know how the game works. If you're only as good as your last fight, so people then forget. Sometimes all these trolls forget the classics, and they just say, whatever. He's washed. He's this. But then you just chill. They said that after I lost to Pereira at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And I told Dana, let's do that shit again. Ran it back straight away because I knew I could beat the guy.
And it's so decisive,
Exactly. So it's just about getting back in there and showing the world who I am, because I know who I am and I know what I can do. So just showing them who I am. But I don't really do it for them. I do it for me and my people. And in doing that,
I feel like a simmering hunger because, the DDP, like I said, you won 9/10 of the fight, slipped up a bit and got caught in the choke.
Yeah.
So now, what kind of fire does that bring to you for this next training camp, whenever it may be?
For me, it's just the way I handled the whole training camp. Like I said, having whole meals, whole foods properly, having breakfast. I never used to have breakfast. I just wake up, roll out of bed, get to the gym, start training, whatnot. Then after training, I'll have my first meal around 11:30 p.m. So now I actually have breakfast before I go train, little things like that, good sleep. So I feel I'm optimized as much as I can. So I am fired up, even from the last fight, because the way I performed, I felt good. I know I could be better, but I felt good in there physically. So I can't wait to build from where we left off and then get into this next training camp and fight. And really,
so the long layoff, you think, may have had an effect and a little bit of rust.
Yeah.
And so when you watch back the fight, what do you think? What could have been better in the camp or even in the fight?
It was just a moment in the fight where it was my footwork. I did something and I slipped, and then I pointed to the ground it wasn't you, it was the ground. And in that moment, I shouldn't have pointed to the ground. It was just...
Took a little mental lapse, maybe.
Exactly. And then he jumped on that. And look, this is the game. I messed up, my bad. But like I said, I wasn't really attached to the outcome. I just wanted to show off. I wanted to be I want to actually be in a fight. And it was a good fight. Yeah. I enjoyed myself.
It was,
I enjoyed a good fight. So
I don't know what the card said up until the head crank, but you must have been ahead.
Yeah, I know I was.
I
felt I was. But again, I wasn't keeping score. But it was just... I was having fun in the trading, exchanging. It wasn't like a one-sided fight. So, I can't wait to do it again. Against who, we'll find out.
Yeah. I can't really think. See, I'm at a loss.
Yeah.
So who?
DC,
who are gonna,
everyone said the same thing. They're like, well, normally he's fighting for the title or he's in the main event.
It's who do we stick up? There's no one really worthy, in a way, to come up against you at this stage.
Well, we'll see.
I want money fights. For you, Strickland would be great, but he's busy. And, the DDP rematch, okay, not yet. So I don't know. I'm not the matchmaker.
Yeah.
I don't
it's
know.
up in the air, but we'll see.
Did, you don't have to get totally specific, but the purses, the money in UFC's got to be a lot better than it was back in the day.
Big time. I
mean, what was your first payment, your first UFC fight?
But for me, I already established myself out of the UFC as a big name. So that's why I came in as a kickboxer. I came in with a lot of hype and a big name. So I had it was over 50K my first purse because I didn't do win and loss bonus. I didn't have that. I knew I didn't want that. Excuse me. There we go. I knew it was coming. So I didn't want the win and loss bonus. And then I got a $50K bonus US as well. And yeah, altogether I made over six figures in my first UFC fight.
But it's millions now, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's nice now. Yeah.
Yeah.
This last fight, I said, like, every time I fight, I feel like I won the lotto.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. And look, I'm not gonna say I'm greedy. I'm appreciative of what I'm doing in the UFC and my relationship with the UFC, and we still have a good business relationship. But this is where the managers come in and they have that battle behind the scenes, and I just sit there and go, "How much we getting?" Afterwards, so.
No, speaking of,
Yeah.
I was desperately trying to get you to be part of my Samu Manuka company.
Samu Manuka, the
Yes.
honey.
Yes, the honey, bro.
Okay.
The honey. And like at like that 11th hour, it just fell through.
Oh, real? Who we talking to? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Tim or Ash? You don't remember?
Don't remember. It was my people talking to your people.
Okay, I see.
So no
Again,
hard
we're not
feelings.
there.
No hard feelings, yeah.
I saw on TMZ some guy hassled you in the street.
Oh, yo.
When you're hanging around your McLaren. I believe it was a McLaren.
Yeah.
I know cars. So somebody filmed it and somebody sort of rolled up on you, but I don't know what the rest of the story was.
Okay, I can give you a play-by-play.
All right, please.
So I had a good morning training. I'm heading to going to the spot, get a pie, because it's a really famous pie spot on KO Road.
Yeah.
And then this guy just pulled out of nowhere, which I think it might have been a setup because he saw my car or something. He just pulls up and goes like, "Izzy, 1 ounce." And when you say 1 ounce, that's like in Kiwi slang, like say, "You and me right now, let's go." And I was thinking
1
like,
ounce.
hey, like the fuck? It was just silly to me. And I just thought, bro, I do this for millions of dollars. I'm not going to whoop your ass for free. And he goes, "Nah, I fight for the streets. I fight for my pride." And I kept on laughing. And all I did to piss him off was I looked at him and I grabbed my car door while he was in his car and I went,
Yeah.
and then that's what spun him out of control.
He's wearing Crocs.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah.
know he wasn't serious because his Crocs are not in sport mode.
And I knew straight away. Exactly. They weren't in sport mode. So, but for me, then when he pulled up in front of the car, I was just like, okay, if this guy breaches
Your space.
then I have to attack him. But again, I had a good day. I was in a good mental space, and I gave him a lot of grace because one of our teammates, Falvake, got killed by like senseless street violence.
Oh, man.
Because he got coward punched by a dickhead, and he's dead now. So in the moment, I knew if I hit this guy, he's gonna hit his head because it's a slopey street. He's gonna fall down, hit his head on the concrete, probably bleed out or something, and then I get put in jail and they're gonna fucking throw the book at me. So I held myself because we even started a trust, walk without fear. So I feel like this video later on when we're trying to change the laws, because the guys who killed my boys, they're walking free now.
What happened?
Coward punch.
Yeah, the shit laws in New Zealand. You can kill someone and get off just on a home detention thing. And also, while he was on home detention, we were all on lockdown.
Oh, right. What
So it's
kind of?
like-
We're on detention too.
Exactly. So
Right.
I'm like,
Oh my
you
God.
spent 6 months of your fucking home D on lockdown with us, and you still get to be walking free now. So yeah, we're trying to change some laws with that. And that was the only reason I didn't hit that guy, because I just felt it would be, he didn't know what he was doing. So it's kind of like, yeah, just let him slide. But still, I think this video for later on will help with the law changes. It will show
So what
someone-
happened to your boy?
It was just on the street trying to get away from these guys, he and his brother. And then, yeah, the guy sucker punched him and he hit his head on the ground. Was in a coma for a few weeks before they had to pull the plug. And again, that's one of the reasons why I didn't hit this guy, because I knew if I hit him, he's definitely going down. And then so am I in the court of law. So, yeah. And also, like I said, this is going to show what's possible when, if I'm not me, this guy could have hurt someone else. But I don't know if it was a setup, if it was doing it for views, or if it was fucking cracked out or whatever. But yeah, mercy was given that day. And I'm
Wait, and
glad.
he just hit you up with the 1 ounce? That was it?
That was it. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, and I was laughing. So I think me laughing as well kind of pissed him off. And then him flexing and all that. Look, within an hour, I found out where he lived. I found Auckland's my city. But again, I think karma will get him.
Speaking of car, the McLaren.
Yeah, that's my boy, Kurama.
Yeah, your car
setup,
guy.
Yeah, what?
Karma. I am a car guy in the sense, like, I like fast cars, and I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. So I like fast cars, but I wouldn't say I'm a car guy in the sense that I know the amount of work that goes into that car or this. I'm just a boy with the Hot Wheels, and I have enough money to buy one now. You know the little things? Yeah. So now I can just get one of those. So it's fun to drive.
It's a pretty big car culture, Australia and New Zealand. They like their V8s, and they really, if you ever watch old footage of their V8 class racing, they just like insane people, like made NASCAR guys look like Sunday drivers.
Even the McLaren's it's a Kiwi car. I think it's Rob McLaren. I think his name is. I think it's Rob. Forgive me if I'm.
No, we'll think of as.
The car was made and invented in New Zealand, but then the factory now is in Europe.
McLaren,
in London, I believe.
Was it Rob
or Bob?
But he died testing a Can-Am car, maybe at Goodwood. But he started McLaren building Can-Am cars in the early 70s. And then his F1, like Leno has one of his 94 F1 McLarens.
That guy has all the cars, doesn't he?
Yeah, and if you ask Jay bought that car at Sticker, which was still like 800 grand.
Wow.
Back then. But if you ask Jay, I'll go, what's that car worth, Jay? And he'll go, somebody offered me $25 million, but I'll go, they offered you 25. It is $25 million. Oh
my God.
Today.
I wouldn't even drive that. I just let it sit there and look pretty.
Yeah. Leno called me today because he said some guy's selling a Paul Newman Ferrari and he wanted me to talk to him about it, which is a second story. But you ever think about, your reflexes are fast and your eyesight is good and your instincts, which you need to drive a car, is kind of a feel. It's kind of a feel. And the guys who sort of have it in the seat of their pants, they can kind of feel what it is. But it's not about overreacting or overcommitting or making big, broad moves. It's real little details, little inputs, little subtle inputs. So I could see you doing some driving with your ability.
Yeah. Since I've been driving this car now for three and a half years, my driving skills have gotten better. Even the other week. So me and Matt, he comes to my house every day, makes me food, whatever. We're heading to somewhere on the street, and my neighborhood is filled with a lot of old people, retirees. It's like an affluent neighborhood. And I'll say this, after a certain age, I feel like you should do your license test every 4 or 5 years. Because some people at a certain age, they drive like I don't even know how to describe it, like they just no care for anyone else on the road. And again, I'm glad because she pulled out in front of us. The speed limit's 50. I'm probably going like 60, 50 something. And then Matt just goes, "Yo, Iz, watch out." And I saw her right there, sideways in the middle of the street, trying to turn this way, but she crept up. And then in that moment, it was just, I didn't freak out. And I'm glad I didn't have a girl in the car with me because something, and they freak out. But then I was like, oh shit, and just corrected in a second. Just chill. And I like how I react under pressure. And in that moment, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be here because I would have killed her, or I would be in the hospital because she just, again, I'm going this way and she's about to turn into this street. But then she just crept up and trying to look at the traffic, and I had to just quickly correct to get away from her. So, yeah, that
you
does
have
help.
So it is the skill set of the sort of quickness, and it's kind of a hand-eye thing. Like you also see, you have to kind of see what's unfolding in front of you
under pressure.
You do well on the track. You should get a little track time
I have
in there.
been on the track, and the most I went was 253 kilometers per hour on the final straight. And then the guy who was coaching me on the side was like, right, punch it here, punch it, foot down. And I got to 253 Ks, and I felt the little speedball button. He goes, right, now slow it down, boom. And I took my foot off and just put the brakes slowly. But fuck, it was, you're going, man. And again, it was I love speed. I like adrenaline. I like I did skydiving early this year for the second time. Things like that. So even after fighting, my boy AB, who is my strength coach, he was telling me like, yeah, I have a plan for you after fighting, but I know you already have a plan, because I know for me, I will need something every few months that will make me feel like I'm going to die. So maybe, I don't know, I might decide, I'm going to go run with the bulls. Then I'll train up for it, and then that'll get my adrenaline going. When it's time to do that, then I'll do that and be like, right, that's done. What's next? I want to go climb, I don't know, some crazy mountain or something, train for that. So something that'll just get me, because most guys, when they're done with this game, they lose themselves. They're like, now what? What do I do with this? And then they, just wilt or even try to come back in the game as well. So for me, I'm like, nah, I want to be done with this, but I still want to feed that, that thing.
Well, be careful, bud. Be careful.
Yeah.
I did a lot of crazy shit, okay?
I know.
So chasing that feeling. I drank this, did that.
Well, I've lived
I
a life.
went on a wild one, yeah.
Yeah, I've lived a life too, but at the same time, after fighting, I want to try and do it in a way where I don't, put myself in too much danger. Like, so I don't want to go down the path of like drugs and, gambling or whatever. I want to like find something that I can do that'll make me feel that feeling. Nothing ever beats it though.
No.
Nothing beats
I know.
it. You know the vibe. When that walkout.
Exactly.
Walking in 10. And then you just start to feel everything. You walk and I see everything. I can see in the rafters. There's been, when I fought Anderson Silva, I looked at one of my friends in the stands, like in the top, and I looked at him and I winked, and he kind of goes,
I know. Yeah. You can see everything, hear everything. There's a hyper awareness that overtakes you when you're getting to fight mode.
Yeah. So that feeling right there, and I love it. But again, I don't want to depend on it. So when this is done, I know it'll be done, and I'm like, cool. I'm done with
after
this
you
game.
skydived, did you feel like taking a nap right afterwards? Because I did.
After fighting, normally, because I have to go after party and make some money. But after a fight, I'm just like, I just want to eat and go sleep. But then, after party, you got to do that, get money.
Yeah.
And then, but after the skydive, I was tired. I didn't have a nap, though. The second time I did it this year, it was a little bit, I was less, what do I call it? I was able to see more. Because the first one was just like, wow, what the fuck? And I was in Abu Dhabi. That was amazing. But this second one, I was just like.
How about base jumping? I got a buddy. I'll take you out to the bridge in Snake River Canyon.
See, there's levels.
Pretty wild. Yeah, I did it.
I
did it.
No way.
Pretty wild. Yeah.
So base jumping is just you jump with the parachute and then let
jump.
it go.
Yeah, and you got to go and be like, please work. Please work.
Oh, you're throwing.
Yeah. Pitch. You pitch. They call it pitch.
Pitching.
You jump off the bridge and then throw that thing up. And like, I hope it gets.
I would do that. That would be fun. The one that looks really cool that I wouldn't do is the squirrel, the flying squirrel thing.
Oh, that's crazy.
My buddy does that. We should have him on. He's into it.
When they go through the rock arch and stuff,
that's him. That's
150 miles an hour.
Yes.
That is some of the hairiest shit ever.
I would love
And we were
to.
taking a group picture, all us base jumpers, and they were like, dude, we don't really like to take group pictures. I'm like, why? Because somebody always goes.
They say it's not if, it's when. Like, especially for these rock climbers, base jumpers, they say it's not. It's just you're rolling the dice every time.
Extreme.
Oh,
sport.
the guys who climb, El Capitan at Yosemite, and they free climb. The free climber guys, it's great.
Alex Free Solo. Have you seen that?
Oh my God, it's mind-numbing.
Am I wrong? Did the free solo guy?
No, he's still alive.
He's still alive. Okay,
yeah. Alex Honnold,
well,
I think he's still alive.
I spread misinformation. My bad. I told somebody I think he's dead.
Yeah.
How long do you want to go? How long before the retirement?
I don't know. That's the thing. I know I'm on the other half now. I'm 35, and I said to myself when I was younger, like 23, 24, I was like, when I'm 34, I'm done with this. But that's because as a young man, I thought 34 would be like old. But I'm here. I'm feeling optimized. I'm feeling healthy. So again, I'll just do it till I don't feel like I want to do it anymore. And I'll know. I was just saying today, it will feel like it's like I'll break up with fighting before fighting breaks up with me. You know what I mean? I'll make sure it's, and I'll say it's not you, it's me. Because the game's gonna go regardless. I'm like, it's not you, it's me. I just don't. Look, I don't see us going like this anymore,
Look, speaking of breakups, okay, this is an entertainment show.
Yeah.
And it's been all over the entertainment that
let's see.
Your ex-girlfriend was trying to sue you for half your stuff. This might be a sensitive subject. You know what I mean? But it's something big that everybody was kind of asking me about, like, hey, make sure to ask him that his chick get half his money.
Yeah, I try not to talk. I'll finish this. Hold up.
But I think that
this involves real people, so I try not to talk about it just because it does. I don't want to bring that to her life anymore. But in New Zealand, they have some really weird laws where if you live with someone for 2 years and they became I didn't know what this meant till my dad.
Common law.
they call it de facto partner.
Here they had a famous case called palimony.
No, is that alimony, but palimony?
Yeah, it was like a favorite. It was like a famous actor from the 70s was just like living with this woman for 12 years or 15 years or something. And
that's even
they
long.
said, she left, they broke up, and she's like, you owe me. And they're like, we're never married. Like, well, you acted like you're married, and then you get into this common law thing where there's that.
No, in New Zealand, it's 2 years. If you live
2
with
years.
2 years.
I lived with a stripper when I was 26 for 2 years. Are you kidding?
I'd rather do that.
But we could have been married. I mean,
But again, that kind of stuff, it made me be more aware. Made me be more aware with, I guess, people's intention. That's why I'm single now. I love peace. I like peace in my life. I even just look, fucking Raya, get me on there. I tried to go on Raya ages ago, but then yesterday for a joke, I went on Hinge just to see what's up. Just to see, just because I'm just like, let me see how this works. I've never been on that before, but look, I like peace, and I love this life, but I just feel like at the right time, everything will fall into place.
How is the tax laws in New Zealand? You hear about Europe, you hear about the United States and other countries, and I never hear anything about New Zealand. Is it tough to make a lot of money and live in New Zealand tax-wise?
I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I pay all my taxes, IRS, IRD, whoever. And they always, because my dad is my accountant, and I'm glad because no one else on this planet will want the best for me like my father. And I'm glad I have him around because if not, I would have been definitely ripped off because I am not financially as literate as him. I'm getting better now, but he's definitely quadrupled my net worth with what I've been paid over my career. And
as I understand, you're doing real estate now.
Real estate, some other things, but my dad definitely helped me quadruple my net worth with real estate and other business ventures. But again, taxes in New Zealand, like anywhere else, I think taxes. I just think tax is theft, but we all have to pay our taxes. There's two things that's sure in this life: is death and taxes. So we all pay our taxes. But New Zealand's not as bad as some other places. If it was up to me, I'd fucking move to the UAE where there's
You're right.
Dubai. Why?
Because
they have no taxes. No taxes.
Yeah, but I love my gym and I love my team, and that's the reason I'm in New Zealand. And again, it's not that bad. Even New York. When I fought in New York twice now, I realized, damn, they've got state, and then you got to do federal tax.
No, I mean you get $5 million and it's 2.5. 10 seconds later, as soon as everyone wets their beak. Listen, I pay a shitload too. I got the same thing.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a good
I pray that I can pay $5 million in tax next year. Amen.
Yes. I know. I agree. It's just if another asshole wants to know why I'm not paying my fair share, they can fuck off.
Amen.
Because are you fucking nuts? My fair share.
Yeah.
I pay what 500 school teachers pay in a year.
I know a guy.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Just don't give me the fair share.
Exactly.
That's
We're
all.
trying to say that it's just jealousy. That's just jealousy. It's a bit of classism and whatnot. But again, I've been a rich man. I've been a poor man. I've heard this before. Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'll choose rich every time, no matter what.
So how did you grow up? You said, well, your dad's your accountant, so you didn't grow up like a dad in prison or something. He's a white collar guy.
He's. I grew up in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. I grew up quite well off. My dad, did well for himself. But then when we moved to New Zealand, conversion rate doesn't really work very well in your favor. So because even I remember telling my dad, like, why are we living in this house?
Right.
Because the house felt like it was substandard to what we had in Nigeria.
Why'd you go from Nigeria to New Zealand?
So they moved to the Western world because they wanted better, like college or tertiary education for their kids. Because I meet a lot of Indian taxi drivers in New Zealand who, I was a doctor back in India, but they can't be a doctor in New Zealand or anywhere else in the Western world because their qualifications aren't recognized. So they wanted that for us. But again, I chose a different path. I did, what did I do in college? Computer graphic design. So that's why I'm into animation and, voiceover work, motion capture. And my lifestyle, the way I grew up is not, my parents didn't really want this for me, but then now to the point that I'm doing it at the level that I'm doing it, because there was no one else before me. even Kamaru, like us, saying we want to be fighters in a Nigerian household. You're like, the fuck? You want to be a what?
All right.
You have to be a doctor, accountant, or something like that.
Well, you're doing it because that's your skill set. Whereas a lot of guys grow up on the wrong side of the tracks, and then their dad beats on them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And they end up being tough guys.
Dude, I'm sitting right here.
I know.
Oh, no, my dad beat me as well.
Okay.
Capital punishment was normal in Nigeria.
No, I guess what I'm saying is there's people who are attracted to combat sports because they grew up a certain way. Like, we used to have, there were tons of Jewish prize fighters in this country. Turn of the century in the 20s.
And
a lot of boxers, a lot of Jews had Star David on their trunks. Well, Jews don't fight anymore because they don't have to fight anymore because they have better jobs. They grew out of it. But I mean, you fought not because you grew up on the mean streets or because of your environment, but because you have the skill set to do it, which is probably why you will be more successful. You are more successful than a guy who just fought because he's angry.
Out of necessity.
Because you don't necessarily have the skill set.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily athletic. You're just pissed off and unscared or overcompensating.
I get what you mean. So for me, when was this? It was I started fighting 2008 kickboxing, and then it wasn't until I watched UFC 90 on pay-per-view live then I saw, because I already watched the DVDs, Anderson Silva, Dan Henderson, all of that. But then when I saw UFC 90 live on pay-per-view, and I was like, man, I might be the greatest at this. But again, I said it before I knew I was. I just felt like I could. And then with my dancing background, my creativity, timing, and then just the technique, and I realized I was better than a lot of these guys. And yeah, it's taken me far, but I guess, I fought out of just a love for the game. I enjoy fighting.
Wait, so before your kickboxing, you were doing dance?
I was just dancing, just like break dancing, crumping, popping, whatever. So that was my way of just like expressing myself, battles with my friends and other kids from different towns. I was out here in these streets.
Nice.
But like fighting was just, again, it got to a crossroad where I was like, okay, do you want to be a fighter or a dancer? And I knew I wanted to pursue one of these things as a career. But I knew I can't go around just fighting everyone, but I can still dance. Example, before I fought Robert Whittaker in Melbourne, biggest crowd in UFC history still, I did a little dance routine because that was my way of paying homage to all my people that came with me. Even one of my boys, Jesse, who's one of my best friends, he was dancing right there with me.
I did a little dance after you won me $10,000. I was on a cruise ship. I was on a goddamn cruise ship, and I saw this fight was coming up. It wasn't on the cruise ship, and I was like, Whittaker is a tough guy, but he's not fluid.
Stiff.
He's not an athlete. He's just a tough guy, And I go, I'll take the slick guy over the tough guy any point. And I'm telling you, if you look up that fight, you guys were even. Pretty even money. And so not only from at sea, I called a bookie. From at sea, I called my bookie, and then I called Mike August, who books this show, and I said, Mike, you better get in on this. And he said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I said, we're getting in on this.
I like that.
And I said, $10,000. Bang. And we didn't even have the fight. I remember just like pacing around the buffet.
You won.
Colin. Yeah.
Pop the champagne on the cruise.
Yeah, I knew. But it was weird to me that they had you guys even on that fight, and I was like, I have no idea why Vegas is making this one even.
Sometimes, sometimes I see some. There's not been any recently that I go like, because sometimes I'm still the favorite. I'm like, why am I the favorite? I like it when I'm the underdog, so that way I get to like, right, okay, let me show these guys what's up. And then, I mean, you're not allowed to bet on yourself in fights, and I know that, and I never have ever in my life. Yeah, other people might have betted, but I never have because I am a law-abiding citizen who follows the rules.
Pays his taxes.
And pays my taxes. Amen.
Well, the Du Plessis fight, was that even? Or
I think it was going back and forth to when it got closer to the fight. I go back and forth a little bit. But I can't look now that, you're only as good as your last fight is what people like to remember. So I look forward to the next one. I hope I'm the underdog.
Well, I would say the difference between boxing and MMA is when a guy who worked on rhythm and speed, like a guy like Muhammad Ali, started to lose his skills, then there's a decline. And once a guy like that starts losing, then there's going to be more losses. MMA, you can lose 1,000 different ways. You don't have to, there doesn't have to be a decline. You can just look down at your foot, slip on something, lose focus for a millisecond, and get choked out.
Yeah.
So when and that's what's exciting about the UFC, which is, you have guys that are like, Tito Ortiz, I don't know, 16 wins and 12 losses. He's going to the Hall of Fame. There's no other sport where you go to the Hall of Fame with a 60% winning, 62% winning, And not that you're in that category, but what I'm saying is you can lose a fight and not be on the decline. In boxing, when the guy would start losing, that's when the decline was setting in.
The effect, I think they called it, because people were protecting their O. And I've seen it, and people, when someone loses, they're like, oh, he's 1-0 now, he's done. Like, Canelo's still one of the biggest, if not the biggest boxer on the planet, even though it had that one loss to Mayweather. I don't think it took away from him. I think it actually elevated him, even helped his style, because he learned from the head movement of Mayweather, like, I need to, get some of this in my game. So, yeah, in MMA, there's many ways to lose, but there's also many ways to win. And sometimes, even if you lose, your stock goes up because it was such a great fight. Dana loves that. It doesn't care about wins or losses. If you're a great fighter, you put your balls on the line, you fight with your heart. They love that. So, and then I think the crowd appreciates it as well. And that's why a guy like Tito or Chuck or whoever, their record never really. Sometimes a record doesn't really show how great a fighter is. You can't really go off that because you never know what happens with the.
I think people would be surprised if they found out that Chuck Liddell had 11 losses or whatever the hell he has, because he's a legend, you know.
No, he is. But again, it doesn't take away from who he was, because those fights, whether he was winning or losing, even the losses, they were still some of the greatest fights in history. So, yeah, but it's just the effect of that Mayweather effect, because he, 50-0. Was it 50-0? Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I think that's fading away a little bit because, the generation now understand, like, we just want to see great fights. You don't have to be padding your records or protecting yourself, because a lot of guys do that, and I've seen it in MMA, boxing, and kickboxing. A lot of guys pad their records up to try and stack it and looks like it's. And then when they show up to the UFC, you can see, he's not about this. He's not about this.
Yeah, and some guys get protected. I mean, it was depicted in Rocky IV or something when. Rocky III or Rocky IV. At some point, Stallone's living the high life. He's got his mansion. He's got his robot and everything like that.
And Club Roulette.
And he's like, and then Mickey, the trainer's going, don't fight this guy. Don't fight him. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm the world champ. I've won the last 10 fights in a row. And he's like, those were tomato cans. We set you up. You know what I mean? Those were real fighters. And he's like, what? And he's like, so, yeah,
I've never had those, though. I can say this. All my fights I've ever had were the toughest fights at the time.
Yeah, I don't know if you can really do that in the UFC when you're at a visible level. You can't do it when you're visible. I mean, you weren't as visible at the beginning.
Yeah.
But the UFC seems tough to pad.
Yeah, and also at the highest level, even the top 10. Anyone in the top 10, anyone can beat anyone else on any given night. So in the UFC at the highest level, it'll be really hard to do. And the matchmakers, they don't like to, as real as it gets. This isn't, no fugazi, if you will. So yeah, it's as real as it gets.
Who you looking forward to? Not for you, but it's like John Jones got one coming up with Stipe that I don't think people are that excited about, because it seems like Stipe's a little old and he's overmatched by John Jones.
And then you got the Aspinall in the background, shout out.
That was the fight I was looking forward to, but then Dana is really hell-bent on the Stipe fight. And I'm like, cool, get that done, and then I guess the winner takes Aspinall. Or if John Jones retires, what a great career. But Aspinall is that guy. I met him in July this year. Big dude.
Yeah, beast guy.
I think we're the same height, or he's a little taller, but also just thick. I was surprised how thick he was, but also his speed.
Yeah, fast hands.
So that going to be a heavyweight fight?
Heavyweight fight. He's the interim champion right now at heavyweight, and John is the unified champ or undisputed champ. So, yeah, he's going to fight Stipe, and then we'll see what happens if he decides to keep going or not. But who knows, man? That's an interesting fight. Another one I want to see is Ilya versus Max. That's a crazy fight. There's a good one this weekend with Pereira and what's it, Roundtree. Yeah. That's another fucking that was.
All right, so come on, bud. We got the expert. Hit us with some predictions.
I got
here.
10 grand.
Yeah,
I got a hole in my pocket.
Exactly.
Okay, if prediction.
So let's talk Pereira Roundtree. Who do you think is going to win this fight?
If I'm straight away, if I'm gonna like just off the cuff, I'll go Pereira because momentum right now. Also, I just know. Roundtree doesn't grapple. He likes to kickbox. He's never going for a takedown. And I'm like, if you're going to do that with Pereira, there's one person who, I'm the only one who's ever even rocked him or stood with him in the UFC. Everyone else he's washed. Roundtree, I feel like will be able, if he can make it dirty and catch him, he can catch him. But it's so hard to do with Pereira because Roundtree, his reach might not be able to get to him. No. Because Pereira likes to use this defense, his long reach.
And then a check left hook.
You lost to Pereira?
Yeah, I lost to him. I can't remember the name of the show, but it was in Madison Square Garden. And again, another one, I was beating him up, and then he beat me at the last bit, the 5th round. And then that was when I was just like, fuck, I know I can beat this guy. So again, I was like, Dana, let's run it back, because I was the champion, and I had the immediate rematch clause. So I said, let's run it back. And then I got him.
Yeah.
But this weekend, I'm going to go Pereira, and I'm going to go TKO or KO. I don't know what round, but I just feel like it'll be hard for Roundtree to get.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2 or 3. 2 or 3 rounds. Because, Roundtree will come with explosive motion, and it'll be a lot of Pereira running back, I think. Shielding.
That leg kicks.
Exactly.
And then he might catch him as Roundtree comes in, because Roundtree's going to be attacking him.
What is find the odds, Joe, or find what
Roundtree will definitely be the underdog. He'll be the dog in this one, but I wouldn't count him out because Chael reckons he's going to win, and Chael reckons he's going to wash Pereira. And I'm like, wait, what does he know that we don't know?
It's definitely a possibility.
Of course, this is fighting, and I know he can because he can get in there, put him against the fence, and just fucking. But again, to back Pereira up, that's. I did that in the last fight I did with him because I planned on it because I was like, I'm not taking a step back with this guy. I'm going to push him back. And then it's possible, but with Roundtree, with his reach and his attack, he would have to attack with combos. It won't just be the 1, the 2. It might be the 3rd or 4th shot that gets him. But we'll see.
Well, what I've seen out of Roundtree is that he can win really well if he can run you around the cage. But I think Pereira has enough footwork and head movement and that frame that he does to avoid anything major. But man, there's a reason they do the fight.
Fighting. Paper can't fight paper, so we got to fight.
Yeah.
But it's a good fight, and I think again, Pereira by round 2 or 3. But if Roundtree does it, fucking ridiculous. Let's see, where is he?
Pereira's minus 525.
Yeah, so
that's some big money.
Everybody thinks Pereira's going to win then.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's a good time to go dog, huh?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Did you fight Roundtree?
No, Roundtree's at light heavyweight. I've never fought him or sparred him, but he's a good fighter. He's a dangerous guy. He's a dangerous guy in the sense that when he finishes people, he beats people like they owe him money.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying. He runs you around the cage and then just peppering you. I know.
Soccer kicks.
Boom. I know.
And he's a violent guy, very explosive.
He is.
It's like, did this guy fucking...
He's mad. He ate gunpowder before the fight. I know.
But it's going to be a good fight. I can't wait to watch it. But I'm still going to go Pereira with finish in the 3rd, probably, or 2nd, because you can only try and attack him for so long. And those leg kicks...
All right, how about going down to the lower weights, Max versus Topuria?
I've thought about that one, but
I know
that's going to be a crazy fight. That's going to be a crazy fight because look, Ilya, I knew he was good, but I didn't know how good he was till he beat my boy Volk, and I was like, shit. He actually,
me too.
He got it. Yeah, because I was like, the only way Volk can lose this fight if Ilya gets him to the fence and starts unloading. But then Max, he's a guy that has never been finished. His last fight was the only fight I've ever seen him get rocked by Justin Gaethje. And these Hawaiians, man.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah.
So this fight, I don't know. I don't have a prediction yet, but I'll wait and see. That's what, next month? No, this month. No, next month. It'll be next month, yeah. So I'll wait for that one. That'll be fun.
Got any read on John Jones, just his head and what kind of guy is.
I remember you had some static with him too.
We had a lot of static.
Yeah.
back
Oh,
in
you
the
did?
day. Yeah, we had static.
I
years
find
ago.
him enigmatic in that I really don't know who he is. I can't tell if he's like sometimes he does nice things and sometimes he gets in trouble.
I'm not sure he
that's the
knows who
duality.
he is.
Yeah, that's the duality of human beings because you just have to be smart with the way you move because I'm no angel myself, but I'm just smart with the way I move and I try and do more good, than I do bad stuff.
What was the beef with John Jones?
He called me out, and we actually talked about it. It was funny. It was in Vegas randomly. He was just next to me at a bar. It was almost like divine intervention, and we were just like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
Dapped up, hugged, and then we just sat down and chopped it up. And then he told me it was just because he always wanted to fight Anderson Silva, but then that fight went off, and then he just thought, "I'll fight the next." Level, the next best thing, and it was you. So that's why he called me out. And we talked about everything. And then we had that little sparring match, in the lobby. That was fun. And it was good. I'm a fan. I've always been a fan. But then when he called me out, then we had that static. But for me, I'm just a fan of the game.
Does he walk around 30 pounds heavier than you?
No, we're the same height, I believe, but he's just thick. He's a strong boy. A lot of leverage on him. But also, I think just the way he approaches the game, he's a really smart fighter. Like, not just grit, tough, we all have that, but he's a really smart fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. In a way, I start to feel bad that his talent isn't being squandered by any stretch of the imagination, but there's just something, it could be so much better with him, right? There's something going on, and it just could be better.
Yeah.
Well,
you mean as in fighting or his life?
His life, like, I don't mean his fighting. I mean, he's the GOAT in the octagon, but I mean, like, in his life, like, I just feel like I should see him more. He should be doing commentating stuff. He should pop up places. He should be in the octagon a little more. I don't know. He's fought, twice in 5 years or something like that. You know what I mean? I just feel like
he could be doing more.
He should be more. Yeah. Is that me? I mean, so I'm saying you're fighting, you're out there, you're
I only
on
do as
the
much
show.
as I can, but I do it when I want to, like this, just to promote the movie. To do that, I have my YouTube as well, which I used to promote myself and certain things, but I don't like to do even like some of the MMA journalists now because they've watered that down so much, man. So for me, I call it I heard it's called gotcha journalism. They try and get clickbait headlines and stuff. So I really limit myself to the interviews I do for MMA, and that's why I have my YouTube channel so that way I can say things from the horse's mouth. But I mean, if he wants to, he could. It's just probably not his forte, if you will.
Would you guys, if you ever fought, you'd be light heavyweight, right?
Nah, he's heavyweight now. If that would have
never
happened,
coming down.
Nah, I think after this fight, he said he's retiring as well. Well, he says he is, but who knows? Look, Dana just has to go.
Yeah,
There's some money.
Yeah.
There's some more
And
money.
then the ask him to fight, because who knows how this fight. I think with him and Stipe, I'm gonna go Jones. If off the cuff, I would, but again, I'm like, let me see what Stipe looks like. Let me see how his training is. I haven't really looked yet, but
I think Jones going to be a heavy favorite.
yeah, I think so as well. Just because of the history.
Let me give you a plug, Israel. You said your YouTube, Apple. First off, Style Bender, name of the film, available as we speak on Apple TV. And on demand as well. I saw the trailer. It looks really good and thoughtful. And then where else do we want to send people?
Just to YouTube, Freestyle Bender, Twitter, Style Bender, Instagram, Style Bender. What else? That's about it, yeah. I'm everywhere, though.
Hell yeah.
Well, the show's got a lot of range because comedian Rob Schneider is going to join us next, which is a lot of range. Israel, thanks for
Bigelow?
coming in. Yeah.
Male Gigolo, baby.
All right, Israel, thank you for joining us. Rob Schneider will be right after this.
Appreciate that.
Feel Free by Botanic Tonics. I'm holding it right now. Not only holding it in my hand, but it's actually inside of me because I use this product quite frequently. Trying to describe, here's what I will say about this product. I can feel it. And I can't say that about most products. You take the multivitamin, you take whatever it is you take, you kind of go, I don't know, I think I feel smarter or more focused or have more energy. But no, Feel Free. It makes a difference. And I mean, the way you know is they gave me a case of this stuff, and it's been a few weeks, but I'm getting down to my last few bottles. I use it usually after work because I finish work and then I got to focus again. And it works. Probably drinking a lot less coffee than I used to as well. And I do it 2-3 times a week. And when the energy's running low, it helps. It makes a big difference. So Feel Free by Botanic Tonics, and try it and tell me if you don't feel the difference, because I think you will.
Make the switch to all-natural energy and get an extra little mood lift with this plant-based tonic. Go to botanictonics.com and use code ADAM at checkout for $40 off a 12-pack case. Again, that's botanictonics.com, code ADAM. Celebrating 15 years of podcasting, here's a memorable moment from the Adam Carolla Show's Ace Awards archives.
Look, you have a 50% failure in the biggest school district in the nation, the LA Unified. We have a 50% dropout. I never back down from this. These motherfuckers, these people who surrounded them with plexiglass and said, oh, we have to protect them, we have to. And I'm telling you, these school closures that they did in California is evil, draconian, authoritarian, and dictatorial. And these assholes screwed these kids up for life. And somebody's got to pay a price for this shit. We can't just scoot it under the rug as if it's nothing. There needs to be, and hopefully when there is, it'll never happen in California, but when the Republicans take over in November, they're going to have some congressional investigations, because these people, they want more and more and more control. Once government gets your liberties in any form, they'll never give it back. Once they give them their power, you never get it back.
Now, for some new memorable moments, let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Rob Schneider joining us via Zoom. You can do it. Speak your mind, America. It's part.
See what you started, Adam, by being one of the few people during COVID to stand up. You got people all riled up like me.
I don't get why more people weren't more riled up just about a lot of subjects. COVID, one of them. It saddened me. You know, it sort of reminded me of like one of those 70s films where a woman was getting raped in the alley and you saw people come to the window, look out, and then just close the curtains and go back inside and sit down. I'm disappointed, you know?
No, but you're exactly right. You've hit it onto the square. I mean, literally, this photographer that I know, I'll just say her name, Julie. She was attacked jogging in California, and she literally was like pushing this guy, fighting, and people were just walking by. That's how disgusting it is. What you have is, that's why, I mean, just to jump right into it, you really have, if you go back to the Stanley Milgram study in 1961, it really it just says the same thing about society, and it's disgusting. But 65%. And Stanley Milgram was a story about the psychological story where he had a guy sitting in a chair, and in another room there's another guy, and then you had this control button and you push this thing and supposedly would cause a shock into the guy in the other glass booth, and it was and a guy in a white coat pretending to be like a doctor was telling the guy, okay, 10% more, and the actor in the room's going, ah! And it didn't matter. The people, because of the person in the white coat, they kept doing it. And 65% of the people who were, told with the white coat, kept doing it up to the point of death and at point of death. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about. You're talking about a group of zombies. And then we can talk about California voters who, I've said famously, California had a choice of, voting, if there was if they could vote for a bowl of shit that had a D next to it, people in California would do it. They just are this kind of beaten and brainwashed. Just remember, like when we had a chance to get rid of Newsom in California.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, we're gonna get him, and then they finally get enough hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of signatures, hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, for California. That's a big thing to try to get rid of him. And then it's just like what happens when they call the police during a domestic quarrel. I'm gonna call the police, and then by the time something happens between the recall of Newsom and also the domestic dispute, when by the phone call, And then by the time the police show up, but he loves me. Gavin Newsom loves me. Now leave my husband alone. He loves me.
Yeah, I know. I agree, and I find it saddening and like disappointing, and also sort of confusing.
Tell me how confusing.
Well, it's like, I live in Los Angeles. I've lived in Los Angeles my entire life, and I've seen the decline of Los Angeles. It's a kind of a, if anyone ever goes on YouTube and looks at film of cars driving through Los Angeles, 1957, you just drive all the way down the Sunset Strip and you see nothing but happy people, and there's no homeless, and there's no shopping carts, and there's no garbage, and there's no graffiti. There's no anything. It's just happy, friendly, happy people. And again, and everything's pristine. And now it's become a hellscape. I mean, even I tell people all the time, PCH, I'm in Malibu. PCH is just filled with all these old RVs, and there's like scooters, people abandoned and stuff. It's like, it's junky now. So we had a choice for a mayor like 2 years ago. One of them was just a career politician named Karen Bass, who was all mobbed up with the teachers' unions and everything else and just in the system. And the other was an outsider named Rick Caruso, who was a commercial developer who'd built all these great landmark malls here, and really the only bastion of clean, nice, safe, and orderly were these malls that he built. They resided in Los Angeles, but they were a little bastion of cleanliness and safetiness and godliness that didn't exist outside. So somebody said, well, let's get that guy, the guy who does all these developments and is so successful and creates these little utopias, the Beverly Center and the Glendale Mall, all these things that go clean, orderly, attractive, safe. Let's do it. And we all voted and said, nah, we want the chick who's from the system, who's not going to do anything and just keeps blaming the homeless problem on income inequality. And that's how we voted. So we get what we deserve, people.
You get the government you deserve. When it was, it's something else. When I really think, when is the people in California going to realize that these people who you vote for, and these people who they hate you, they despise you, they want you to live in squalor. They have a gated community, and they don't care. It doesn't matter what happens outside of that. It's like, well, for Oprah, it's like a gated community within a gated community, and she just can fly over the crap. I was looking at my photographs from Calcutta, and then I just happened to be coming into LA, and I'm telling you, it is Calcutta.
Yeah,
it is.
Certain spots.
It is just absolutely, yeah, certain spots are absolutely beautiful, and then you just pretend you ignore it. And when somebody does want to fix it, like, they turn him into a ghoul. Mayor Giuliani was a hero for, in 9/11 and like what he did to turn around that city. And now, of course, they just, they hate anyone who wants to help the average person. I can't come to any other conclusion than that.
Oh, man, I'm bummed now.
Dr. Drew tried to volunteer to be on the homeless committee for the LA City Council, and they voted him off. A non-paying job. Nobody else had any experience in addiction. And that was Drew's, obviously, he's an addiction medicine specialist. And he said, none of you people have any experience in addiction medicine, but I do, and I'll volunteer to be on the homeless commission of City Council. And the LA Times wrote a hit piece on him, and they voted him off.
What?
Because they don't want the competition or the competence in the competition. They don't even. It's a cabal of people just getting paid and never doing anything.
The Screen Actors Guild. I was elected official in the Screen Actors Guild, which is a mistake. I was talked into doing it. It was a complete utter waste of time because none of these people really. I mean, God, there's like 3 or 4 out of the whole all of the Screen Actors Guild elected officials. Maybe 3 or 4 actually you'd recognize and go, well, maybe I've seen that person. But the rest are they just there, and they're never going to be invited to like the Academy Awards. So their Academy Award or their whole party is these stupid, meaningless meetings. And I just went against what they wanted to do because I know what it's like to be a working actor. And, and during all the COVID crap, they just insisted on having you couldn't show up or audition without getting all the shots. I opposed all of it. And you know what they did? They finally just kicked me off. I was the only guy. They literally kicked me off. They were able to figure out a way to get rid of me. And they did. And it's like, so anyone who wants to help the system, and I wasn't getting paid for that. It was all volunteer. Anybody who wants to actually help the system or have ideas, they don't want the system fixed. It works. I mean, the homeless, there are people that are getting money. There are organizations that are getting billions of dollars are going into this thing, and they don't want to fix it because why? Because you're getting money. Why would you want to do that?
Well, I mean, the guy who picks up garbage at the park needs there to be garbage at the park. Otherwise, he's out of a gig. And I don't know, we wasted like $24 billion on homelessness and no one knows where it went. Well, it went somewhere. Like somebody got paid. You don't just lose $24 billion. You waste it, but you don't lose it. The editorial on Dr. Drew from the Times reads, Dr. Drew is the wrong choice for LA's homeless authority. And that was from about 3.5 years ago.
How y'all getting fired from non-paying jobs? Jeez,
I know. God forbid an actual doctor who's dealt with addiction and dealing with people who have addiction problems. Him and I, it's in the book. There's a nice chapter about him and I in the book about in You Can Do It, Speak Your Mind, America, where we both in March had a conversation, and I'm a medical nerd. I'm not a doctor, but my family is in medicine, and we have, because I'm part Filipino, so of course I have to be. Right. And so I was talking to my who they have 4 hospitals, the Lapids in New Jersey, and we were discussing, and it just seemed like they wouldn't go public about it, but they said this doesn't seem to be any worse than the regular flu. And then they said, but don't quote me. And then I was talking to Dr. Drew in March of 2020 about this, right before they shut down the world, this doesn't seem, we need to talk about this, and we need to talk about the ramifications of shutting down society and shutting down schools because, the African Americans, it took decades for them to catch up to other students. And finally, after decades of hard work, they had become a parity. And then, so, it's always the poor kids that are going to get hit the worst. And sure enough, that's happened. It's fallen off a cliff. IQ points have dropped. It's been an unmitigated disaster. And you look at the a-hole governor of California, and there's no, nobody pays a price for that. There's no plan for these kids. 50% of them were dropping out the LA Unified before. So I argued with the LA Unified School District. I argued with everybody about everything during COVID. But they were doing battle with me on Twitter, and I was just telling them, if you're not going back to work, you're a coward at this point. You are cowards. You people are, or you're either a coward or you're just on the grift. What are we talking about? Essential workers. What could be more essential than school teachers? And by the way, you guys tout yourself as heroes every 10 seconds, but you're too big a pussy to go back and do your fucking job? Who's the fucking guy? The school unions, my family had given millions of dollars for paying teachers in the Laguna Salada School District up in Northern California. My mom would be ashamed of the teachers union and the cowardice, the abject cowardice, and that Randy woman who's the biggest a-hole you can imagine. And looking at the teachers, Weingarten, and without, could give 2 shits about children. it's a disgusting thing. That's why we have to, hopefully if Trump gets in, I'm very hopeful that they'll just shut down the Department of Education. We need to keep it in the states. The states need to decide, not those ghouls in Washington deciding anything.
So this is a book on politics?
It's a book on free speech, and it talks about comedians, and it talks about what the old comedians, what they put up with how they murdered Lenny Bruce by going after him and just drove him into a grave. It's about what happened during COVID. It's about why horror films, people will go see a horror film and nobody's going to say, well, that's too scary. that I didn't agree to be scared in those different ways, but if somebody goes sees a comedy show without visuals at all, people feel no problem complaining about that, especially, during the COVID and during this whole cancel culture stuff. So there's good chunks in there. I think that, Adam, you might have a good laugh on that.
I know I will. I think the difference is, and Dawson, you might be able to find some exchanges with me in the school district on Twitter, which Rob will probably enjoy. We've talked about them before. The difference is that when I was young, I didn't know I got a vote. I didn't think I got a vote. I don't mean a vote on an election. I just mean if I was sitting in a comedy club and someone started talking about something I disagreed with, I didn't think I had the right to say anything. I didn't think I had the right to coach up any adults or tell them about my feelings or what they said. I was along for the ride. I was just a peon kid who knew nothing, and these guys were professional. These guys were professional comedians holding a microphone. Sit down and shut up. Yeah. You don't get a vote. You don't get to raise your hand and talk to him and tell him what you think. I wouldn't have done it, on an airplane, and I wouldn't have done it in a comedy club, and I wouldn't have done it anywhere. So you're the boss. I'm along for the ride. Now everyone stands up and needs their voices heard.
Cultural shift.
And every single time there's a speech, especially if it's Kamala Harris, it's always stand up, have your voice heard. Well, if all you bitches are standing and talking at once, then I'm not going to understand anything you're fucking saying. But I feel like everyone is standing up, having their voice heard, but they have nothing to say.
Some guy yelled at me at a club last month and it went viral. And it was just people's idea of free speech. They don't even Tim Walz, the tampon Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, they don't really understand the principle and that it is our First Amendment. They really don't understand.
They're not fans. Yeah. No, and then his thing is, hey, man, just mind your own business. Like his rallying call is mind your own business, which is what I'm asking you guys. I'm saying, government, mind your own business. I'll decide whether I need to wear a mask outside or not. That'll be my business, Tim. This guy's setting up hotlines so neighbors can rat out other neighbors during COVID. But his battle cries, mind your own business? That
exactly.
Seems a little disingenuous.
Yeah. It's like the free speech. They say, no, we got to watch this, this malinformation, disinformation. Well, it seems to be like disinformation seems to be something that's wrong or that is off, and then there's this misinformation is maybe a direct lie, and malinformation is just anything that the government may be true, but the government doesn't like to hear it. They don't want the truth. Anyone who wants to censor you is scared of the truth. I mean, if otherwise, come up with a better idea. And so when they call it a privilege, like Kamala Harris calls it it's a privilege. I mean, it's just incorrect. She is in error. It is the speech. Free speech isn't the speech you like. It's all speech. It's the speech you loathe. The stuff you like doesn't need any protection because no one's going to be against the nice stuff. It's the stuff you don't want to hear. But if you have to have all of it or none of it. Otherwise, it's not going to be a chance for us to, for innovate, a chance to question government, and a chance. What it will do is they'll end up silencing everything that they don't like, and that's what they would love to do. They would love. For something to happen to Elon Musk's Twitter. They would love to take that away.
He went from the golden child to the devil in 10 minutes as soon as he just got. And I love the conceit where it's like all he's saying is it's open for everyone to say whatever they want, and somehow he's become a hate merchant. Dawson, you can read a couple of those tweets. I suppose we won't get into Rob's Zoom and whatnot, but
LA teachers, this is from you. LA teachers either don't want to go back to work or are cowards. Those are the only two options left. The United Teachers of Los Angeles replied with, "Who is the coward? The teachers who dare confront government officials and powerful businesses to fight for the health of their students and families, or you who sit safely in their La Cañada mansion criticizing what apparently you don't even understand. Teachers are working."
Oh, gosh.
And then you quoted that and came back with, "That's untrue. I called them cowards from my mansion in Malibu.
Oh my God!
That was not my La Cañada mansion.
Hey, Adam, I was just they just shit on me recently. The teachers, some teachers union, because I did this thing for Moms for Liberty, and they were like, they went after me for just being there because they hate Moms for Liberty too, because they hate moms, they hate children, they hate liberty. All they want to do is just whatever's best for teachers. These are just, I don't know what the hell happened to this union. It's just they turned it into a bunch of communists.
Unions really only go the one direction. You know, it's kind of baked into the cake. You know, Tailhook started as a couple of fighter jocks from the Navy, tail hookers, the guys who land on aircraft carriers, like hanging around in Ensenada drinking some beers, and eventually turned into debauchery in Las Vegas and had to be closed down with prostitutes being flown in from all over the world. You know, it's like everything turns into a racket. You know, it starts off with their heart in the right place. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we need a union because these people are being undercompensated and they're dangerous conditions and blah, blah, blah. That's how it starts off. And then eventually becomes a bloated bureaucracy where there's more people working in administration than there are actual teachers at this point. It always goes that way.
Same thing with the homeless. Anytime that you have a system in place and humans are in charge of it, it looks like to me, with my unstudied eye, that people exploit it.
Right, and it's really what's going on with the government now. It's just getting bigger and more bloated and more unwieldy and less about the people and more about the jobs. And we need another DEI coach and instructor and whatever.
Shake the Etch-a-Sketch.
I'd say
start over.
I want a smaller government. That's just me. And then their thing is like, we need to raise taxes so we can pay for all this. And I'm saying, well, there's another way to pay for a lot of it. Get rid of two-thirds of it.
I had to replace somebody on a film for a streaming service. This is a little while back. And I said, fine, I'll do it. And I went in and apparently there was somebody who exposed himself or something like this. And then I had to do this training. I had to listen to it, and then I had to sign stuff, and I had to go through. And it's like, wow, this is not just a job. And
you had to do DEI training,
like don't flash your PP training.
Yeah, well, I had like this sexual harassment training and some DEI kind of thing. And then, it was just like, we have to be the disrespectful jokes, no sexual jokes around women. And I show up on the set, and the first thing that the woman who's the lead of the picture was just talking, just the filthiest trash you can imagine sexual. And I was like, I'm not entering into this conversation. And it's like, wow, it's crazy. But
it's all insane, but it can go no other way because you're creating jobs that don't need to exist, and then these people need to create work for themselves. And I was just yelling about this off the mic, but you hire a DEI supervisor for your workplace, and that guy can't just sit like the Maytag repairman and never leave his office. He has to go out and find some infractions.
Yeah.
And you will find infractions if you're looking for infractions. Yeah. When I did a pilot, you'd be happy about this, Rob, but it was like 15 years ago, and I did a pilot for like NBC or CBS, I can't remember what it was, and they're like, well, now you have to attend the meeting, the DEI meeting with the thing on the feminine thing and the whatever. And I was like, I'm not doing it. And they're like, you have to. And I was like, no, I don't. And they're like, you have to. And I said, look, if you get a DUI, then you have to go to some mandatory drunk driving something. You have to go to a couple of 12-step meetings, right? If you get it. But if you've been driving for 40 years and never got a ticket, why do you have to go to the fucking meeting? Why do I have to go? I've never had an infraction. Why do I have to go sit at the YMCA with the rest of the alcoholics and be lectured to by an ex-alcoholic about the dangers if I've never got a DUI? Why do I have to do this? And they're like, you have to do it. And I said, I'm not doing it. And they said, well, then we're not doing the whatever. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Then don't shoot the pilot. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And they had their big mandatory meeting with all the whatever. Now, we could solve all of this if everyone said, fuck you, we're not doing this meeting. I'm not showing up. If everyone did it, if Gavin Newsom closed the beaches and everyone said it's a beach day and everyone headed to the beach, then there's not a fucking thing they could do about it. But I said, right. I'm not doing it and I'm out. And the following day, I showed up to the office and like walked into the writer's room and no one was in there but one woman. And they like closed the door behind me and they're like, this is the DEI woman. You have to sit here for 12. I was like, I'm not doing it. She just started talking. She literally had to rub me while I yelled, Ali, Ali, Oxenfree. And then she just left. And they went, okay, we did the meeting. And I'm you didn't do a meeting. I was trapped into this. And you got nothing from this. But you can't check a box because it's someone's job now.
Well, compliance. You can't comply your way out of tyranny. That's true.
I just read that. I love it.
Yeah, the thing about the same thing with girls' sports. Thankfully, this girls, I forget which team it was, this week said bullshit on this thing like last week and said, we're not competing against a volleyball team at a university. We're not doing it. So none of us are playing. Right. And then that's what all the girls have to do. And I know that potentially, because I told my wife that, and she said like, well, these girls, they don't want to do it, but they're also worried about losing their scholarships and this and that. Well, they all have to do it. And the parents say, screw this. That's the only way this bullshit ends, because it's just, it's just craziness. And the only way to deal with to stop playing a stupid, crazy game is to stop playing the stupid, crazy game.
Well,
I remember.
One guy goes to paddleboard in Malibu and he gets arrested. But if we all went to the beach that day, then no one would get arrested.
I am Spartacus.
That's right.
By the time people do stand up, it's too late. And the next thing you know, you're taking your shoes off to get on the plane to go through, and then you get an X-rayed, and your testicles are getting X-rayed, and then some guy's jerking off with it, some TSA guy, and then he gets caught, and then they just make the picture a little fuzzier, so he has to be more creative in his masturbatory imagination. It's all this illusion of safety, and it's just a further inconveniences and giving up your liberties. And every liberty that you give anyone, they'll never give back anytime. Richard Reed, one guy who was retarded.
Shoe bomber.
Shoe bomber. He had like wires coming out of his shoes. This guy's an retard. Let's just say what it is.
Right.
This guy was a tard. And he gets on a plane. He's got wires coming out of his shoes. And everybody sees this and blah, blah, blah. And because of that, one guy in 1992, I think it was, we all have to take our shoes off for the rest of our lives. And it's at a certain point, well, no. Let's just, let's see if somebody has his wires, let's everybody pay attention, but that's enough of this. So, I remember during the movie we made out here in Scottsdale, because I said, I'm during the pandemic, the scamdemic, I said, I'm going to work. I don't care what. So we made daddy-daughter trips. If you don't want to work, you don't have to work. But because it was Screen Actors Guild and because they're a bunch of wusses, a bunch of pussies at the Screen Actors Guild, we had to have this, and if you're going to be Screen Actors Guild movie, we had to have the COVID crew, which is another $60,000. Well, this is like me and a friend paid for this movie. So here we have a bunch of people that we didn't have everybody, and they're going to testing and all this crap and all these things and and it turns out if you go, on the video, you see who's making all these swabs and stuff. It's in China, and nobody has their hands washed. They're using their feet, putting it in the bags. The kids are rubbing it on the floor, and this is the stuff.
It's all a grift. It's all a scam. It's all follow the money. Nothing ever comes out the other end. And for some reason, it's attractive to many, many Americans. Fucking super soft pussies, but still voting Americans. And during COVID, I thought, well, what's the obsession with the kids? It doesn't affect kids. Why the obsession? And then I came up with my crate training idea, which is you got to get the dog young. You can't crate train a middle-aged dog. You got to get them when they're pups. And you put them in the crate. And at some point, they will let themselves into the crate because they think it's safe. And you train them young. And that's why they're trying to hit the kids young and close the schools and do all that. Because I realized, just like crate training, the dog can be in the crate can be in the house, and the house can be on fire.
Yeah.
But the dog feels a sense of safety going into the crate. Because it doesn't stop the fire. It doesn't stop COVID. Your fucking paper mask that you're wearing around your nutsack is not protecting you from anything, but it's crate training. It's the illusion of safety.
So what do you think? In 10 years, they're just going to shut society down again and all the little kids?
No, not 10 years. No, that was just like, they learned a lot this time.
Oh, yeah. They're like, oh, these fucking malleable patsies. This is going to be easy.
They realized the numbers are pretty much the same, and they're going to be able, and believe me, they'll do the same thing. The same people who followed last time will follow this time. It's just that they learned. And so they learned that, well, podcasts, so that we didn't see that coming as an impediment to our authoritarianism. What else did? Well, these people stood up and, these doctors and these people. So they're going to go after the people that will do it again. Because the thing about slavery is this. The best slaves are the ones who don't even realize they're slaves and will fight for their own enslavement. And that's kind of what you saw. I mean, you really did. And we're seeing, with this election, we're kind of seeing a repeat of it. And there are people who are really, really smart, but their brain kind of turns off. And what I describe for this Trump derangement syndrome, and I talk about it in the book, You Can Do It, Speak Your Mind, America. I say, how there's now when people get in football, before somebody got a dinger, they went into the locker room or whatever, or they just didn't care. They sat them and they put them back out there because they don't really give a shit. Yeah. So now what they do, because the publicity's out there and stuff. And
you're talking about concussed.
Concussed.
Yeah. As I played football for a million years, a guy would go, first off, they go, he got his bell rung. Which they didn't say concussion. This guy got his bell rung. And then you'd see a guy who got concussed and they'd go, he's walking to the wrong huddle. And they'd start laughing. He doesn't know. He's on Queer Street. He doesn't know where he is. He went to the wrong. Get back here. And they'd start laughing. Yeah. Because it's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
I know. But so then what happens now, they take him and it looks official. They take him in the blue tent as if something amazing's happening in the blue tent. And they got it. And it's just a chair in there. And then they look at the guy, but it's a blue tent, so they're not doing it in front of everybody. Right. So what happens with Trump derangement syndrome, it's the same thing. Basically, these liberals, they kind of lose their mind thinking about Trump and blah, blah, blah. And they have to go in the liberal blue tent and kind of for a little while. So I was talking to my entertainment attorney. I'll just say his first name, Eric. And I said, Eric, and he called me up and he said, I got to tell you, 5 years ago, I thought you were nuts with this whole, Trump thing and all this stuff. But I can't believe what they're trying to teach my kids here in my kid in fifth grade. It's just it's crazy, the stuff they bring it back. And I said, and this is private school. And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah, are you still going to vote for are you still going to vote for the Democrats? You're not going to vote for Trump? He said, well, no, I just can't go there. And I said, but how about the 20 million, between 11 and 20 million people coming in, and then you see the Venezuelan gangs, you see that happening, and then all the, the murders and stuff that ICE just released the statistics. And he said, yeah, that's not good, And I said, what about the censorship and the fact that the Biden-Harris administration worked with tech companies, behind the scenes to violate First Amendment's right? Are you for censorship? I said, no, I'm not for that either. He said, well, then why would you vote? He said, well, I just can't go there with Trump. It's like, what? Yeah.
Well, we're getting into chick-think, which is what's been going on, and everyone is on some sort of emotional roller coaster. It's I don't like that guy, downside, versus I'd like to get a beer with that guy. Well, you're never going to meet either one of these guys. But
you're not going to come over to your house for
dinner.
No
one's drinking a beer. I'd like to have a beer with Obama. He seems like a cool dude. I know, except for you'll be tackled if you get anywhere within 70 feet of him. All right? So Jay-Z may have a beer with him, but you're not having a beer with him. So with that in mind, vote for the person whose policies will affect you. The beer you're never going to have. And whatever it is you don't like about them, whether something you like about them or something you dislike about them, it's never going to affect your world, but their policies may.
Their policies may. I would say, hey, and I said, you do realize 100,000 more troops are going to the Middle East. And I said, you do realize that this Secretary Blinken has approved missiles that the Ukrainians can fire deep into Russia. You do, that this could start World War III. You do care about that, right? Yeah, I don't want that. But I'm still Trump. I just don't feel comfortable. It's like, what? And I tell people this. It's like, it's pretty simple. Do you hate Donald J. Trump more than you love your country? I mean, do you hate Donald Trump more than you're worried about World War III? then you're not worried.
Well, I would sort of argue with those people is the answer is yes, except for they qualify it so strongly that it gets them into a different mind space. But yes, the people, you can disapprove of Trump or not like Trump, but if the people that have Trump derangement syndrome are always narcissists. It's always there's something they see in him that reminds them of something in them. It's a narcissism that always comes to the fore. Rob, hang with us. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come back and do a little news. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. The great Rob Schneider there. You Can Do It's the book. It's out as we speak, and we'll take a quick break. Back with Rob and Mayhem right after this. O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly offers friendly, helpful service and the parts and knowledge you'll need for all your maintenance and repairs. I've always gone to O'Reilly. I used to live up in the hills in La Crescenta. I'd go to the one up on Foothill. Still there. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you'll never have to worry if you're in a jam. The team at O'Reilly Auto Parts can test your battery for free in or out of your car, which is nice. You don't have to pull it. If it needs to be replaced, they'll help you find the right battery for your vehicle. Need your windshield wipers replaced, brake light fixed, quick service, they'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help as well. Whether you're a car aficionado or an auto novice, you'll find the team at O'Reilly knowledgeable, helpful, and best of all, friendly. So the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto, do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in the store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
And now, Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew on the Adam Carolla Show. Dateline, St. Petersburg, Florida. A 41-year-old man was charged with domestic battery and resisting arrest after an argument with his 61-year-old mother escalated, and he hit her in the head with a plate of spaghetti. Definitely not a Jew.
Rob Schneider's hanging with us via Zoom, and Mayhem Miller's got some news.
Got some news. I'm going to reign, Eric Adams says, as he won't resign at Sunday church stop. I'm not going to resign. I'm going to reign, Adams said Sunday during a visit to Emmanuel Presbyterian Reformed Church.
Oh, is that? I saw a picture of him surrounded by like 75 black people.
Yes.
That must have been that.
Black church.
I love 100%. When they do that.
Yeah. And,
man. You got to go to the Lord.
Yeah.
You go to the Lord, man, and then that's gonna
I love when they swing by the church.
But why are they going after him? Because he didn't do anything different than what Biden's son did. You know what he did do different though? Biden's son. The difference was Biden's son being that he made money from some overseas overseas company, and then apparently $10 million came in from Turkey. They don't like Turkey. The U.S. Department, and so, but he was also a year ago, coincidentally, before this indictment, he was complaining and saying, "Listen, I can't spend as much money on these immigrants that are coming in as I'm spending on the police department. $5 billion. It's $10,000 a month." And I think that's what it was. They said, "You know what? You're not allowed to talk. You can't even question any of this stuff." So that's why they think they dumped him.
Yeah, the theory is he got a little too noisy about the immigrant problem. And so they're like, well, okay, we got to get you out of here and get someone in here who's not going to be so noisy about it. Because whatever he's doing is what everyone else does on the regular anyway. And certainly, to bring up Rob's point, I mean, Hunter Biden is just hammering checks from Ukraine and China and Russia. Like, he's doing all the stuff they never stop complaining about, except for he's doing. And then here's my question with journalism. There is a document. And the document basically just says, look, Hunter gets this much, and his business partner gets that much, and his Tony Bobolinsky, the other guy, gets this much, And then there's 10% for the big guy. And by the way, it says 10% for the big guy, and it's on Hunter's ledger. It's like, Hunter, you're in charge of the big guy. You're in charge of the big guy's beak wedding. He gets 10%. Now, so here's a question. On this document, it has everyone's full name and their middle initial. Why don't they use the name of the big guy? If the big guy was a businessman from Orange County, California, then why doesn't it just say Roy Schmeckenberger on there? Why does everyone else have their full name? It's not.
Yeah.
This isn't Reservoir Dogs, where like you're Mr. Pink and you're Mr. Black and you're Mr.
Blonde.
Orange and you're Mr. Blonde. No, everyone's name is on a document that's the same as on their driver's license. So then who's the big guy? And then why is Hunter in charge of the big guy?
Yeah.
Why is that his business?
I know.
You can find that doc somewhere. And then is there any journalist who has any questions about who the big guy is? And what if the big guy was Rob Schmeckelman from Orange County? Why doesn't he come forward? Why doesn't anyone else on the list go, oh, the big guy? Oh, that guy Schmeckelman from OC. Yeah, he just didn't want his name on there because he's getting divorced.
Yeah.
Why doesn't anyone tell us who this is? Why, when they sit down with Hunter Biden, why don't they go, who's the big guy? Why is there a spot for the big guy? And why are you in charge of paying the big guy?
Yeah.
Well, because even the conservative Wall Street Journal doesn't want to know that. It's like you can't. They'll go after.
No journalist has ever inquired as to who the big guy may be.
Yeah.
I know. But they'll slam us like I was just with the Rescue the Republic with Robert Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard and Weinstein and Brett Weinstein, and it was a really good group, and Russell Brand, and it was a really good group. And you know how they did we're talking about getting kids healthy, make America healthy again, talking about all the 54% of kids now have chronic illnesses that are unheard of when you and I were a kid. And like, of course, it's never in the newspapers. They could give two shits about it. They don't care about kids. Right. And we're just trying to we don't want World War III and this way. And they I think the Wall Street Journal today described it as like a bunch of weirdos.
Right. No, if I have to hear that about Kennedy ever again, the guy's weird. What's wrong with him? He got a whale's head. And one of the most thoughtful, interesting guys, very learned. I've sat in a backyard in Reseda and heard him go on for an hour, uninterrupted, facts and data, no cue cards, no teleprompter, right on his feet.
No, he's brilliant.
He's a brilliant guy. He's a thoughtful guy. And he's talking about childhood disease and diet and things we should have been talking about all through COVID. We could have had that dialogue. We could have had that conversation. And these guys have to turn those guys into some sort of Looney Tunes guy who jumped the wall at the insane asylum so that we don't have to listen to him, so that we don't have to implement any of these changes. Like, that's the part about this era that's really insane to me. Like, look, you think, Rob Schneider's nuts. You think Adam Carolla's nuts. You think RFK's nuts. You think Tulsi Gabbard's nuts. You think Tucker Carlson is nuts. You think Trump is nuts. Can we just at least admit that these people, half the doctors from the Great Barrington Declaration on COVID, they're not nuts. They're something other than you, but that doesn't make them nuts. They're articulate, smart, trained people who have informed opinions. Dr. Drew's not nuts because you disagree with him. Like, this is the new world order. Like, this guy's Elon Musk is nut. He's a fucking genius. That's what he is. Who's 10 times smarter than you are. He's not nuts. He may do things you don't like. And he may shed light on things you don't like. But that doesn't make these guys nuts. They're amongst the smartest people I've ever met.
That's what happens. That's what's happening. Like, if you dare go against any part of the liberal intelligence, they try to slam you. Like they've gone after me, and especially when I was supporting Robert Kennedy in the last year, so they would just hit piece. And then what they try to do, and then Robert Kennedy, Trump, they had 7 lawsuits against Trump. the lawfare. 9 against Robert Kennedy. 9 to make sure that he couldn't qualify in North Carolina, couldn't qualify in Pennsylvania. And finally, they just and in New York, and finally he just had to throw up the towel and say, there's just no way to really do this. They run out the clock on him. And it's George Soros and they just throwing money at it because they don't want democracy. They don't want you to have a choice. If they wanted you to have a choice, they would have let Bernie in 2016. But the Democratic National Committee says, no, we already picked Hillary. Sorry that you guys want to pick Bernie, but we're not doing that. And that's been exposed as a fact. And then 2020, you're going to pick Biden. We're going to have everybody drop out, and then we're all going to get behind him. And so you don't have a choice. The Democratic voters didn't have a choice in 2020. They don't have a choice this time. 14 million voted for Biden, and they said, no, we're just anoint, Kamala, because they couldn't get out of it. Because it's like, can you imagine if they didn't pick Kamala? How racist that would have looked, how anti-woman that would have been. They couldn't. So they they didn't want to. Believe me, I'm sure they had meetings going, is there anybody else who said, no, it would look too bad. So
humans are the problem.
We have the screenshot. It's James Gillard emailed to Bob Alinsky. Then I'll figure out who the big guy is. And I think Hunter. So 20% to H, and then 20% to RW, and 20% to Tony Bobolinsky, TB, 10% Jim, and then 10% held by H, who's Hunter, held by H for the big guy, question mark. And they used everyone's initials, sorry. But I think people could figure out who Tony Bobolinsky was because TB, unless they have tuberculosis, was right in the title. So H, Hunter, is to hold 10% for the big guy. Why is the junkie in charge of holding money for the big guy?
Well, because he's not afraid to hoop it.
All right, Los Angeles Times, who's the big guy? Don't you want to know, journalists?
Yeah, well, I don't understand how they don't.
Nobody. Okay. Well, I guess we'll never know because no one wants to know who the big guy is. It seems a little fishy that Hunter's in charge of the big guy.
I mean, that's why the Democrats are so, they are concerned. Biden should be concerned. And I know that, remember when that guy said, who came out, I think it was Hur, the special prosecutor.
Robert Hur, yeah.
Robert Hur said, he's just, his brain doesn't work and he's old. He doesn't remember anything. And remember how outraged
I loved it. I love it when people are outraged.
Yeah,
I love outrage.
This is a political hit piece.
Right.
And then 6 weeks later, he has to back out because
it was funny. The thing about the whole Robert Hur thing is, so Robert Hur sits down and interviews Biden, right? And they have a taped conversation, and then they send out a transcript, right? A written transcript. And the Republicans are going, we need you to release the tapes because we need to see how diminished he is. The transcript, you can't really tell if the guy's non-functional.
Because it doesn't say pause or right. So then Hur goes, look, under normal circumstances, we would put this guy on trial, but he's so diminished, I just don't think he knows what's going on. Yes. And then everyone acts, Adam Schiff and all the rest of the fucking clowns act outraged. Like, how could you say this? And it's like, well, I'm saying I'm not putting him on trial because he's diminished,
I know, I remember this, but I think what he said actually was that he was a witness. If he were to be put on trial, people might tend to be more compassionate towards him because he seemed like a genial.
I'm sorry.
Oh, he's confused?
Yeah, well, either
didn't know where he was.
Seemed like a nice guy.
Either way, they're basically saying this guy's not fit to be in this, to go on trial. I'm not going to pursue this because the guy's not fit, but he is fit to run the country. So then everyone started getting pissed off, and then the Republicans said, we need to see the tape from this interview.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the most transparent group, the most transparent presidency ever would not release the tapes because the most transparent administration ever did not want anyone to see these tapes. So then they fought about it and they kept fighting. And the Republicans are like, we want to see those tapes. And the Democrats are like, you've read the transcripts. You don't need the tapes. That's good enough, And We got nothing to hide. You just don't need to see tapes. And then the debate happened a week later.
Yeah.
And then everyone watched the debate, and then the Republicans are like, "You're right. We don't need the tape. We got the CNN tape.
Yeah.
We just got it. We got 90 minutes worth of what we need."
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
cool.
nobody's asked for the Robert Hur tape the day after the debate, or that night. That's when they stop asking for the tape.
All right.
Because like, we got a better tape.
I love Jill Biden because she really was the one who had the most to lose with, because Joe doesn't know where he is, and he hasn't been running the country, obviously. And it's interesting how the media doesn't want to ask who's really running the country. They're completely, incurious about that. We don't care who runs the country. We have no idea. I'm sure it's Biden.
the
It
big
isn't.
guy.
It's never been. It's the big guy. And so it's like. But it was Jill Biden because can you imagine? You're like, she's in her 60s or something. She's 20 years younger than Joe. And she's got 14 assistants, 15 assistants. I mean, it's tough to give that up and go back to Delaware and just get, be looking for stuff in your husband's Corvette in the garage.
I don't know anything, but the only story I always hear is she's the one who doesn't want to go home.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to go home because why would you want to give up 15 assistants everywhere you go? You're the first lady. That's why right after the debate, she's trying to spin it going, "You did great, Joe. You answered all the questions."
She's talking into his tin horn.
Oh,
Joe,
my God.
you did great. You
On
can
to the
do
news,
it.
guys. Sean Combs and Sam Bankman-Fried are sleeping in the same Brooklyn jail cell. The pair happen to be placed in the same dorm-style cell with several other defendants. Apparently P. Diddy is in the same dorm living, which is like basically a warehouse
Can they
full of
put
shitty
you-
guys.
If a guy is gay or bi and, is in there for a lot of sort of physical accounts of, putting his hands on other Americans and being bi or gay or whatever, you're going to share a cot with him?
They put you through classification first, and then you go to, I know, unfortunately, for my years ago being locked up, that you get classified, and then they put you with others similar to you. In this case, it would be high-profile inmates. So maybe they'll be in the same room with people whose crime have been on the news.
Yeah, but P. Diddy can still wake up with a boner and want to put it somewhere. That's all I'm saying.
He's
No
in the same
baby
place
oil.
as Epstein.
All right.
Yeah.
In the same place.
Well, actually, that might benefit him because if he really is like the Black Epstein, as they're saying, then it'll probably be better off for him to be in a dorm-style living where he's not just by himself, where he can't just kill himself and, be, done with.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening with P. Diddy right now.
Commit Clinton side.
Yes, exactly. So far, his efforts to secure a release on bail have failed. His attorneys first offered a massive package that would include a $50 million bond, the passports of his daughters, his mothers, the equity in a condo in Florida, the home detention with GPS monitoring. But the judge, however, denied the request, citing very significant concerns, including
The price is wrong, Bob. We're not going for the condo.
Yes.
We're not taking the $50 million.
Yes.
We're going to take you staying in jail.
Yes.
They think it's a big flight.
They think
thing.
he's a flight risk, and also, it doesn't say it here, but as I
Just goes to
understand the
France, they'll never
story,
get him.
he also has allegedly blown up a guy's car before.
Oh, really?
We laugh at P. Diddy. Oh, he's a weird freak off guy, but pretty much a gangster. He did a lot of shady stuff, did a lot of witness intimidation. If you remember, somebody snuck
you said blowing up the car just made me laugh. I'm thinking about the Hamas guy with the pager
Yeah.
going, the Israelis are blowing up our pager. And some guy going, what do they want? No, they're blowing up our pager. Yeah, I know. What do they want? They want answers. They keep
literally.
asking the same question, or just call them back. Why don't you call them back? You don't get it. They're blowing up the pager. They're blowing it up. I get it. The guy wants to talk. Now, what's he have to say?
P. Diddy's in there with Bankman-Fried, who's been in MDC since last fall. I guess he's getting ready to go to prison. So he's in there.
He's never coming out.
You don't think so?
I disagree. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison, and with good behavior and whatnot, he might be out.
And also,
in half that.
the guy's like 27, right? I mean,
So
he could be out before he's 50.
Read some coding books and be back to scamming people in about 12 years.
I don't know if he's ever coming out.
They're going
to find other things on him.
Did you lose some money on that scam and you're going to put a hit on him?
I was never into that kind of stuff.
Oh, California police report 4 stabbings over a 9-hour window in Long Beach. The stabbings happened between 6 p.m. Saturday and 3 a.m. Sunday.
Is
What
it
is
all
the stabbing
homeless
thing?
people? What's
The
that, Rob?
stabbing, or is it religious? Because the religious stuff is happening. The stabbing is in Europe. Which is Islamic-based stabbing. Which I don't know what. Is this Islamic-based?
No, we have Europe. They have Islamic-based stabbing. Here we have homeless-based stabbing.
Yeah, and I think this is good old Christian stabbing here in Long Beach. Police said an argument led to a fight where a man was stabbed several times in his upper body. Suspects fled the scene before police arrived on the scene. The victim was hospitalized and listed in stable condition. The next stabbing was reported about 2 a.m. Sunday morning when officers responded to the 5100 block of 2nd Street, Belmont Shore. 2 men were involved in a physical altercation that escalated. The suspect stabbed the victim in the upper body. The victim was rushed to a hospital in critical condition. Police said the suspect fled the scene. Another attack at 2:20. Officers responded to a local hospital regarding 2 victims who had been admitted to the facility for stab wounds. But then it gets even weirder because it was 2 women who were involved in an altercation, 200 block of Pine Avenue, and were stabbed. 2 victims were stabbed, and then in stable.
Women stabbing each other.
People got to go to bed early.
I know.
Are
And
you
then-
guys with me that women are throwing down at an alarmingly high rate? Like, think about your childhood, Rob. We're the same age,
Yeah.
You go, 0 to age 45 without ever seeing 2 women physically fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
And then I've
never
seen it
saw
go
it. Never saw
Since
it.
COVID. Since COVID, it's nuts.
Yes.
I think they're fighting at a higher rate than men, actually. Like, they go to the airport, someone tells them they got to pay to check their bag, and next thing you know, they're throwing down with the chick behind the counter. Like, women are off the leash. They're fucking going at it, and everyone's just one big ball of energy and id, and it's a combination of probably prescription drugs and rock star energy drinks and booze, and they're all just fucking going at it.
I've said it.
Luckily, they don't know how to hit.
No.
Luckily, they don't know how to punch because it's always the wide arm swings.
Yeah.
And then you get into the hair grab, and then they're
Better
on the ground.
technique is required. I've said it before. After COVID, something happened with everybody watching Netflix and became a kung fu master or MMA
So
star.
people during COVID, they turned into fucking retards. They did.
They
Just go back.
did, but
They lost their minds.
my theory is there used to be a lot of sayings. Like, think about back in the day. You'd say, well, that's not very ladylike, my dear. That's not, you need to act like a lady. There's a lot of telling them, do not get off of this. That is not ladylike, So it's like, they had the capacity for it back in the day, but we told them that is not ladylike. Now stop that behavior. And now it's just sweatpants and press-on nails and hair extensions and fucking fists flying everywhere. Also, people are up 60 pounds, and fat people fight more than thin people. Fat people fight like they're big people, not fat people. You know what I mean? You see those dudes at the Raiders game with their shirt off and stuff, come on, bro. It's like, you're fat. You're not a big dude. You're a fat. You're 300 pounds, but it's all fat. But you act like you're a big dude. Women are getting big. Nobody's wearing dresses or skirts or heels. They're all just wearing sweatpants and flip-flops, and they're just fucking throwing down everywhere now. And now they're stabbing each other.
Well,
I know. It's awful.
speaking of.
Yes.
Yeah. An 18-year-old files a lawsuit over ownership of Shohei Ohtani's historic 50-50 ball.
Oh, yeah. That kid.
What happened?
Now, what happened was, and instead of reading it, I'll just tell you guys, a kid caught Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 ball, which is, 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in one season. And a couple of dudes wrestled this kid to the ground, snatched the ball out of his hand, took it, and are now selling it for $5 million.
Well, hold on a sec. I heard there's tape of it. I didn't see the part where it hit the kid in the hand. It got onto the floor, and there was a
Scuffle?
Scuffle, yeah, is what I was looking for.
I think we
Rob
got some
Schneider.
footage here, actually.
So we can take a look. Yeah, I don't know why I was looking at the word scrum.
You know what those guys are not going to say? Shohei Ohtani, I think I have something that belongs to you.
Yeah, that's right. I know, you're $200 billion. So the ball hit the ground, I think, and these guys all dove to try to go through chairs and get through it, because I think they're going to auction it off, and I think it's starting at about 500. But they say it could go to 4.5. It's one guy and a 18-year-old kid, and it's like a little unclear.
Okay, so I'm guessing that's the 18-year-old kid with the black shirt on.
No, with the red shirt on, orange shirt on, or whatever it is.
Okay.
And
What's frozen on me?
He says that it doesn't matter. There's a scramble for the ball, and a man gets it and maybe takes it away from the kid. I don't know, but he did, and the kid's upset. And tough shit, kid. But possession is 9/10 of the law, as they say. I think I heard it was 500 just to get started on this thing, and 4.5 could go up to 4.5. People say, why would you spend $3 million on that baseball if it went up to Sotheby's auctions or wherever it is going in the next few days? And my answer is why would you spend $3 million on an olive? If the olive was going to be worth $5 million in 7 years, then you would.
It's like art. It appreciates.
Yeah, whatever. If Charlie Sheen was going to offer you $5 million for that ball you spent $3 million on 4 years from now, well, then you would spend $3 million on it. And I don't know what it's going off on. Rob, let me give you a plug. You can do it. Speak your mind, America. Part celebrity memoir, part warning, and part siren call to action. Rob, always great to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Adam. And people can come see me. I'm going to be in Laughlin, Nevada. I'm going to be in Vegas in a couple of weeks. And they can go to robschneider.com and check it out. And then I'd love to see you. Let's do another show together. I agree. A lot of fun working with Rob. And robschneider.com for all the live dates. Thanks for joining us, my friend. All the best. Adam.
Israel Adesanya. There we go. I think I got that right.
You got it.
Stylebender's the name of that doc. Watch that on Apple TV, I should say. Manuka Honey.
Oh, I'm still doing it.
Come on.
/Mayhem. SamuManuka.com/Mayhem.
Casper, Wyoming, Rialto Theater doing Stand Up Friday, 2 shows. And then off to Zanies. That'll be October 10th, doing a show there in Nashville. But I'll see you in Casper. Wyoming. Until next time, it's Adam Carolla saying, mahalo.